Did you know that you could convert someone with one prayer? In this video, I want to talk about my goofy story, how I learned about this. Number 2, give an example. And number 3, share with you how you too can start to move in this way. Okay, so first of all, after I had encountered the Lord, had an experience of His presence and His love, I so wanted my friends to have the same thing. So I had lots of enthusiasm, but no wisdom or experience. And so during that time, I was starting to read the Bible and starting to pray, and I kept coming across these verses that were making reference to signs and wonders that would accompany someone if they were sharing their faith. And it felt like there were like a million references to the Bible. I would come across it in my daily Bible reading or at church or somewhere else. And then when I realized there's only a few references in the Bible, I realized, okay, God's trying to say something to me. But I had no idea what it was or what it meant actually, or what it could have possibly have to do with me. Anyway, so one time I'm going to go to this conference and I just want to kind of go and learn. But I get recruited to help out at the conference. And when I got there, what I thought I was going to do was something completely different. They said, hey, do you think at the conference you could pray with people? And I'm like, I mean, inwardly, I'm like, I don't even know how to do that. That feels awkward. I don't think that's my thing. But anyway, I didn't want to look like I didn't know what I was doing. So I said, sure, line them up. Anyway, so in this conference, I was praying with people and just praying a goofy, awful prayer, just mimicking what everyone else was doing. And when I prayed with people, it was apparent that they were very much touched by God. Like everyone seemed to be having an experience of God's love or God's peace or God's joy. Now, to be honest, at first I didn't know whether this was like really credible. I didn't know if these were just awesome religious people who wanted God so bad that they might fake it a bit. I know that's not right. But anyway, a friend of mine came up for prayer, which kind of intimidated me a little bit. But when I prayed with him, he really had an experience of God's love and God's peace. So after this experience, I was like, I wonder what God might be saying to me. I think God's trying to say something to me. And being slow, it took me a while to realize that maybe when I'm evangelizing, I need to say a prayer with people so that they too can have an experience of the love of God. And maybe that would open them up to having a personal relationship. So that's what I learned in this kind of goofy way. How did I end up using it? Well, in my enthusiasm to have my friends come to faith, I started to organize these little meetings with friends of mine and friends of theirs. And in my enthusiasm, I would just each week kind of share something about what I learned about my faith life and how to grow in a personal relationship with the Lord. And I think I basically gave the same talk every week. My friends actually started to make fun of it, you know. And oh, here we go, the Chris Keys story again. But you know, they kept coming back, which was partly because of Jesus, but probably partly so they could meet someone. And some did. Some actually met people and met their spouse at these little meetings I would have. Anyway, I was a one-man show. I was the guy up at the front every week. The advantage of that was I could see those people that were here to grow in faith. So one time after the meeting, I'm talking to actually an old friend, a very old friend of mine, and I could see he was really open to God. And so I said to him, I said, do you think we could go and just pray for a bit? And he said, sure. So I said to him, I said, hey, why don't we just take a few minutes and I could pray that you could have an experience of God and be close to Him. Would you be open to that? And he said, sure. So I just prayed a little prayer with him and invited him to be open to receiving from God. Again, I'm still kind of learning how this works. And then I just waited. And as I prayed quietly, he really had a profound experience of the love of God. He really felt his peace and his love, and actually inwardly he even felt like maybe God was trying to say something to him. This ended up being a real turning point in his faith life. And this was like a number of years ago, and while he's, had different seasons in his faith life, he's engaged in his faith today just like that original experience. So number 3, how can you move in this? Well, I want to kind of give you my 3-step process. You want to set the stage, pray the prayer, and follow up. Number 1, setting the stage. So obviously to pray with someone, you want to be having a little bit of a spiritual conversation. And the ideal conversation is just to talk about how faith has made a difference in your life, how you've had an experience of the love of God, and that while your faith doesn't make you better than anyone, it's definitely helped you. And so maybe you would say to someone who you're sharing faith with, say, would you also like to be close to God, have an experience of God's presence? And if they say yes, then to say, well, how would you feel about us praying a little prayer right now? And I would just say a little prayer for you to have an experience of the love of God. And you just need to be open. And then we'll just sit quietly and just wait for God to reveal himself. And then to do that, and then just to wait. And then to follow up and say, hey, did you have an experience of God? And if they did, great, ask them to describe it if they're not uncomfortable. But if they didn't, say, look, when you're on your own, just invite God into your life and just wait for his presence. And all you need to do is just be open. So, did you know it's possible through the power of the Holy Spirit, through one prayer, that someone could come to faith, have an experience of the love of God, maybe even give their life to the Lord? Just one prayer can change everything. So, if you'd like to learn more, look up here, and I also have a video on how to convert someone in the power of the Holy Spirit with one word.